The second big takeaway when dealing with recruiters is I would highly encourage you to prefer asynchronous communication, meaning emails primarily. And the idea is that there's so much ambiguity and emotional involvement that you can inadvertently or deliberately expose when you are talking on a phone call, when you have some sort of IRL, real time interaction. You can be much more controlled and diligent about what you're revealing when you write things down. And so, both for you, when you interact with the recruiter, prefer to communicate over email. And when the recruiter is giving you a bunch of information, similarly, ask them to write that down. So, why is this important? And the reason is because most people are really bad at handling pressure. And a job, finding a new job and effectively changing maybe your location, your livelihood, how much money you're making, is a very high stakes situation where naturally you're going to have a ton of pressure. And so the common consequence of that is that people will say way too much on a call. They will reveal too much information. And as we talked about earlier, oversharing is a road to being taken advantage of. The other dimension is that naturally, I think pretty much everyone wants to help other people. Or maybe another way of phrasing it is they want to please other people. So if someone wants you to reveal how much compensation you made, you want to make them happy. You want to go ahead and tell them, even if that's detrimental for you. And it's much harder to maintain your composure when there's someone waiting on the call, waiting for you to share a number or a figure. So the takeaway here is that really the way to succeed in negotiations is don't speak too much. There's actually a common joke where people share that, like, if you're on a phone call, the most effective negotiation tactic is to be able to tolerate discomfort. And the way you might do that is you're on a call and you say a number, and then immediately after you say the number or you say something meaningful, you mute yourself. And you just sit in the silence. And that is the number one way to get what you want. Because a common tendency is that people get really flustered with that silence and start to fill it up with, oh, how about this or how about that? Or like they try and automatically come in and rescue themselves and offer something which they didn't have to offer. So that's why synchronous communication is pretty dangerous. If you are going to do it, try not to say too much. And then move more of the conversation into email. Let me go back to this idea of how there's a huge information asymmetry between the candidate and recruiter. And when there is that kind of information asymmetry, the party with more information is always going to be favored in any kind of interaction. Any kind of interaction where there's information flowing, the people with more information are going to win that battle. So if you look at the candidate, you might have vibes. Oh, this job feels really cool. Or how does it compare to the last job you had? And then maybe you have a couple data points from your other friends or old colleagues that you've worked with. On the other hand, the recruiter has way, way more data. They have, number one, how did you perform in the interview? How does your compensation or proposed compensation compare to other people in the company? How does it compare to other people in the industry? What does the business need for this role? How desperate is the company to fill this position, and how hard is it to find someone like you? They also have probably calls with literally hundreds of candidates who are varying levels of excitement or skill, and they're constantly calibrating that. And so the conclusion, the upshot for you, is that the recruiter is almost certainly going to be way more skilled than you at being able to withhold information or pressure you or just generally be able to read you on calls. You're not going to win that battle. And that is why you should not do these phone calls. Try to avoid a phone call with the recruiter. You can't really avoid all of them. But my recommendation is keep phone calls short. So try and have them be, 10, 15 minutes, like a quick check-in. And then all the substantive discussion about the offer should ideally happen over email. And in that email, you can be way more thoughtful about what words you're using and how you're phrasing things, and you craft the message and the numbers that you want to send. There is a gap here between what the recruiter wants and what the candidate wants, because generally recruiters are averse to sending too much information over email because things could get screenshotted or forwarded along and then used against the company. For example, like a bidding war between two different companies. But as a candidate, it's very clear that you want things to happen asynchronously in writing so you can properly have time to process and think about it.